Industry 4.0 has provided us new ways of working, collaborating, and automation we never thought possible. With every evolution of the technology landscape, exponentially more new attack vectors emerge as attackers seek weaknesses in systems and employ sophisticated tactics to gain access to these ever changing and continuously sprawling technology estates. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. Now, the constant evolution requires a cybersecurity workforce who are skilled in traditional foundational security principles while also able to remain nimble enough to adapt to new technologies and to modern methods of protecting those capabilities. So, how can organizations bridge this growing gap and strengthen their security practices? The answer lies not in replacing human talent but in strategically leveraging AI, artificial intelligence, to empower your existing cybersecurity teams. Now let's welcome Mr. Paddy Padmanabhan, co-founder Indygen Labs, to give more insights on this valuable perspective about cybersecurity upskilling. Hello, Mr. Paddy, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good too. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you with us on a podcast today. So, before we dive deeper into how we can increase the upskilling initiatives of our cybersecurity teams, we would like to know more about Indygen Labs, Paddy. So, can you help us understand more about the company, its specialization, what exactly is the challenge the company is trying to solve here?
Personally, I've been working in the technology field for about almost 40 years now, and we built some enterprise scale applications and products in the past. And what we are seeing is a massive difference in the way AI is shaping up, building a new set of applications, which is AI-centric. So we found that there is a humongous opportunity to rethink and build where the core is the artificial intelligence platform, with whether it's generative AI or the non-generative type of AI, but reimagining and building products in the domain with AI centricity was the key thing that we were attracted to, and that is how we started building this organization.
Great. I think it's quite impressive and a very fascinating theme. Probably the company is trying to cater to, and like you mentioned that you are in a technology space and you have been a technology leader with over 40 years of experience, particularly in product management, application development, and with deep expertise in AI, machine learning, and building some large scale enterprise solutions. So can you tell us more about yourself, Paddy? How has your journey been till date? What exactly is your role at Indygen Labs, and probably what triggered your interest at Indygen Labs?
So, like I said, I've been working for a fairly long period, and most of my experience has been in building products that have scaled. In fact, Finacle is one of the things that I had architected, and it's been about 30 years, and it's still scaling and running large set of banks around the world. So when you build for certain scale, you have to look at multiple things, right? So the design has to cater to scalability while keeping the cost low. And enterprise grade means that there should be enough flexibility or customizability, so that people might have variants of the product being used as well. So these are typical of any enterprise grade software product that you build. And with that experience, we've been working on machine learning for the last, we started in 2006 working with ML. And those were the days where there were not too many open source libraries, or things weren't very easy to build. So we were handcrafting code, solving some of the problems that we were doing at that point. We built an AIOps platform first using machine learning. And that was one of the start of the journey. In fact, we defined the category for AIOps. And then using that experience, plus the fact that generative AI and the AI libraries became easy to access and build upon. So we started first working on Gen AI platforms, and we built frameworks that we, in fact, did open source, fine-tuning frameworks for AI. And plus, our fine-tuned models were running at the top of the global LLM leaderboard in Hugging Face. Probably one of the Indian companies which is there at that. We had a 1 billion and a 3 billion parameter model posted there. And we were running at the top of the leaderboard there for these two models. So that was the background. And then we decided to full fledged get into a startup, and we launched. And we were looking at domains where we felt AI can really be useful. And cybersecurity was an obvious pick because given there are so many attacks being done with AI assisted people using AI to assist them in attacking enterprises and governments, getting into systems and causing a lot of damage. So in fact, in a way, I can say that the battle which used to be in the borders is actually now literally inside. So we have a national critical infrastructure, let's say money movement through bank transfers or medical technology, any of these things. If people manage to penetrate, it can cause a lot of grief for the economy. So the battle actually has gone inside countries, and that is what you've been seeing as well, right? So many of these attacks happening orchestrated across countries which are getting into some kind of a war or a proxy war. So which is why we thought this would be a great opportunity to build a product completely thinking it from scratch using AI as a centric platform.
Right. It's truly fascinating to hear about your role and the impact you have had on the company, and your contributions seem to be deeply intertwined with the company's growth and vision. And if you talk about leadership, I think these days leadership isn't just about managing responsibilities. It's more about driving innovation, fostering collaboration, ensuring that every effort aligns with broader the mission of the company, I would say. Now, if you talk about artificial intelligence, like you said that you wanted to build a product from scratch with AI being a core element of the product. So I think in today's digital age, the rapid expansion of technology has led to an equally swift evolution in cybersecurity threats as well. And as these cyber attacks are becoming increasingly sophisticated, of course, traditional security measures are not often able to keep up. So how do you think that AI is playing an important role in enhancing threat intelligence and identifying vulnerabilities before they are exploited?
Okay, so if you think of the current model of cybersecurity, there are a variety of tools being used for various purposes, right? So one looks at the edge, one looks at your devices. There are various kinds of approaches people have taken. So it's usually a cluster. In fact, one of the large customers that I had met last week, they were launching their next generation cybersecurity operations center, and they're talking about using about 50 different products. So every product that they use, there are people who are manning the stations, looking at the products. Let's say there is a threat intelligence platform, right? And there is one which is a EDR, and there's one which is an NDR. So there are so many platforms which is pushing events and alerts, incidents, right, across. So the friction in terms of exchanging these things, and there are people sitting in between, right? So they have expertise in one specific tool, so they have to understand what it is, and they don't understand the overall big picture. And they try to create a bigger picture view of what really got in, how it impacted what, by using a relay of systems, right? So there are people who raise a ticket, somebody looks at the ticket. So let's say there is a firewall which is at the edge and that got compromised for whatever reason. Now, to identify, that's the most important thing that you'd fix now, because if that is open, then a lot of stuff can happen inside. Versus, let's say, one of the nodes which is right inside, and let's say there was a vulnerability spotted in some package which was installed in that, which is not being used, right? So if that props up as a more because that propped up first, it's basically people try and use first and first out in terms of clearing the ticketing system, or they prioritize. There are humans in the loop who sit and do some prioritization. But if they do not catch this, right, so they actually can percolate into a whole lot of damage, which is happening subsequently. So the model currently, which has been there for let's say last couple of decades, is not really going to work because the spate of attacks, the complexity, both the velocity and the complexity are very high now. And because people who are attacking are also using AI, right? And they're able to compose things, they're able to understand what kind of threats you have and break into it. I mean, what kind of vulnerabilities you have, and they try to exploit them. So the vision that we constructed was to build a single seamless platform based on multiple LLMs, where it takes in feeds from all these endpoints and the nodes and the servers and looks at it in real time and has avatars or AI-based agents, which will be like a, let's say, a SOC analyst or a incident analysis person. So it can create itself, as a person, and then help the human in the loop to actually look at it in a better manner. So one is to deal with the complexity, the spate of the volume of threats that come in, then creating a seamless platform where this friction is taken off and creating agents which are aware about past incidents that occurred, what kind of remediations need to be done. And it can preserve an end state that you've prescribed. So it can automatically generate rules and take decisions as well. So this whole holistic platform, which is running and built on AI, actually creates a much better way of dealing with these problems. So, and the way that we are trying to model it, again, we understand that large enterprises may not want to, let's say, give away all their 40, 50 applications, I mean, tools that they're running currently. But what we have done is we have integrated in a way that we sit on top of these tools, get the data, and create a single pane of glass where they can look at it, and then it becomes an AI-assisted SOC to start with. And over a period of time, they can retire all the tools because we have the entire product stack within a single framework.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing those insights on how AI is transforming threat intelligence. I think what really stands out here is how AI isn't just reacting to threats, it's proactively identifying patterns and anomalies that humans, tend to overlook. So I think this shift from a reactive security strategy to something predictive approach is a game changer for cybersecurity in today's digital age. And of course, when you're talking about digital transformation, we already know that it's reshaping industries, but somehow we still face a significant challenge: a growing divide between organizations which are on opposite ends of the cyber resiliency spectrum. Now, a significant contributor to this widening gap is an increasing shortage of qualified cybersecurity professionals. And as cyber threats continue to grow in volume, velocity, even sophistication, companies find it difficult to effectively secure their rapidly expanding digital footprint. Now, this shortage in cyber talent and accelerated adoption of new technologies and the ever evolving landscape, all of this poses a substantial risk to all companies that are leveraging technology and tech applications globally. So, the cybersecurity talent gap is still widening, and we have not yet probably come down to um, a robust solution or an fix that can help shorten this gap. So how do you think that this AI driven automation can bridge this gap?
Okay, so I think you brought out a great point because you're absolutely right. So given let's say the current model where there are 40, 50 tools, like I said, being used, and predominantly, let's say there are 5 or 6 of them, people are usually trained on these tools, right? So they know a specific part of the action and it's not holistic. And because of that, they're not able to move around between different tools and whatever. And there are, like you said, there are two extremes of these equation in terms of companies, right? So some have a full stack, like a bank would have probably built a larger uh, team, right, to manage it. And the smaller SMEs, which are equally vulnerable, right? I mean, they also have their own assets that they need to protect. But then they can't have so many people, and finding that kind of talent is not that easy. And people move around, obviously, for better, lucrative deals or whatever. The people shift around. So the challenge is real. So that is, I think, where we fit into the picture. So this is not just AI automation. I mean, I won't call it automation. Automation is more automating things that people are doing manually, right? So this actually is inference. So this is able to look at data, infer. The second part is it becomes very easy for a human to use it because it talks in a different language altogether. So you don't need to necessarily be trained on specifics of a tool. You may know something about security, and this can actually enhance your value. It's like using ChatGPT for specifically to, let's say, an incident that's popped up. So the person will be able to track saying, what is the origin of it? What kind of impact you think it is? What should I do now? This complete playbook is created and run for that specific incident using the LLMs. Second, the interaction layer with the person also becomes very easy because I don't need to navigate 100 screens. I don't know which screen has what data, right? How do I know that if I'm not well trained? So this takes out the hurdle in this equation where the people that we are hiring, let's say I need to train them on specific tools, specific versions, right? So that's kind of gone. We really don't need that. And a reasonable security knowledge is enough to amplify and start understanding what is happening within your system. So let's break it into three parts. One, there is global knowledge, right? There is a lot of stuff which is uh, collected and curated in specific websites outside. Right. So this we have created a model where it goes around as subscriptions, it goes looking for what's happening around, and either with specific signatures of what we've seen inside an organization, or in a proactive manner, it kind of curates and builds around LLM, and that is what is being used by our product in real time. So that way, what happens is every organization, whether it's small or large or medium, they benefit from this overall synchronized collection of information, curating it, and putting it into LLM readable format, and using that info for, let's say, using that as threat intelligence information to figure out what is happening. Is there something known, and how do I fix it? So there is a whole process that has got sorted in its span, right? So we don't need people to do this now, because typically this is one of the roles people were to do. And if I miss something, it can cause a big damage, right? So it's one is 100% accurate. It takes the context of what we are using and what is there outside, mixes both, and creates a curated solution for a specific problem. The second part is there are so much of information coming in. It understands your deployment architecture, understands which elements play what role. Based on that, creates a prioritized and curated list of what you need to fix immediately. And those fixes can also be automated. The code dynamically can be generated to do some more debugging or deeper inspection. And also you can write runbooks which can go on, take out the problem as well. The third part is the model, the GPT type interface for a user, where since this understands the domain, the model understands the domain pretty well and looks at the incident and makes it very simple for the person to interact with. So thereby cutting out two things. One, the human fatigue, which can cause issues as well, right? Because this alerts you saying, okay, hey, look at this now. Even if the human has the capability to fix the problem, but then just by sheer fatigue, they shouldn't miss it. So this takes care of that issue. And the second is normalizing the reactions across various sets of people that you have. So you may have one good performer and may have some people who are underperforming. This normalizes it. So it makes it an equal platform for everybody to use by simplifying the way you use it.
Right, definitely. I think it makes a lot of sense when we're talking about how we can, bridge in this gap, and I mean, and in the role of AI-driven automation. Of course, it also raises a very important question, that how do we ensure that AI-driven automation complements human expertise and rather than replacing it? I think that's one of the major myths, I would say, and not just a mere concern that people are talking about it nowadays. And of course, the key lies in striking the right balance, because AI is able to handle routine tasks and make sure all the repetitive and monotonous tasks are taken over by machines, whereas we humans are more involved in strategic thinking and creativity. So I think as we move forward, investing in AI-driven cybersecurity solutions will be crucial. But again, how do we ensure that companies ensure that there's a right balance between human intelligence and AI driven automation, specifically in cybersecurity?
Yeah, but I think there is a lot of training that the current set of people need to undergo anyway. So if you look at the number of threats and the number of vulnerabilities that have been exploited, it's quite high. So the indicator, if you talk to the people in the job market, people who are hiring especially, you'll find that they're not able to find the right talent or not able to retain, right? If they find a good person, they seem to be moving around. So it is not a market where there is here the demand is excess and there is a shortage. Now you can argue the other way around. There are people who probably are not able to find roles or jobs in the domain, And again, the problem would be of the talent itself in terms of what they have trained and their awareness. So while ensuring that there are no severe job losses or whatever, this is going to be for a person who understands the domain. This is going to be like a booster. So you can actually deal with a problem in a shorter time frame and hence be able to handle more, let's say, incidents that happen over a period of time. So it's going to be a productivity booster, and there will be situations where the machine will certainly not take a decision. It needs the human intelligence to put out the fire or analyze it better. So this will give you a whole lot of information which is curated, which is looked at clearly, analyzed. So there's a prep work which happens. It's pretty much like, let's say, a surgeon gets into the theater. There's a lot of prep work which happens, and those are done by not by the surgeon, right? So everything is done by, and there is a pre and a post surgery. There's a closure which happens again with other people. So that part is something which definitely AI can 100% do. And there will be a time, I'm sure, with more and more fixes and learnings and training, AI will be able to run a few things on its own as well. So there is going to be a demand for people who understand how to use these techniques and scale up, and that will be the expertise which is required. And people who don't have that talent, this will be an easy way to interact with systems as well, because this actually does a lot of intelligence on its own and gives them an opportunity to also catch up and learn what is happening in the space.
Right. I think eventually, when it comes to having the right balance between human intelligence and AI-driven automation, specifically in cybersecurity, I think it's not just about deploying really advanced, latest tools. It's more about creating a seamless synergy and a partnership where each, complements the other's strengths. And like you said, that currently the demand is excess and there's shortage, and the problem eventually lies in the field or in the talent that you are, mastering your skills. So I think over a period of time, when that gets a little sorted, then probably the balance will definitely be maintained, and we will see more I think innovations, and that would be probably masterminds by these professionals who are taking innovations in their own hands. Now, if you talk about AI, as the AI market continues to evolve, I think even companies are becoming more skilled in implementing AI strategies and in businesses and day-to-day operations. Now, I think gone are the days when initially when companies were trying to implement their AI projects, we came across a lot of studies and reports that said that while the organizations are rushing with AI deployment, most of those projects were failing. Of course, the situation is not nowadays the same. So I think this has led to an increase in a full-scale deployment of various AI technologies, with high-performing organizations reporting remarkable outcomes. Now, these outcomes go beyond cost reduction and just significant revenue generation or new market entries. So, but on the other hand, I feel that AI, deploying AI in any form is not an easy task. And of course, we need a very well thought put strategy to ensure the success of these AI projects. So, when enterprises plan the cybersecurity strategies, for the coming years, what are some key considerations that they should keep in mind when implementing AI solutions?
So I think there are two different aspects to this. One, let's say a company is embarking on building something with AI, it's a project that they're running, and that they obviously have to be aware of the implications of using AI, how to use it, what kind of guardrails to implement, and depending on the use case, making sure that the end objective is met. In this case, what we have done is we have built a product with all these due care taken in, right? And we are trying to run a product within an organization. So, from the customer perspective, to implement a cybersecurity solution, which is built with AI inside, or whatever they're using presently, the difference will be seen in the end outcomes. So, one, there will be innovation in terms of what they catch and how they catch. Second, there will be a shorter time duration in terms of fixing or identifying incidents and fixing it. And thereby, there is going to be a lot of cost savings as well, because as they grow the business and increase the volumes, right, there is a complexity creeping in every aspect of cyber attacks. So as it increases the system that we are producing, or this product that we're building and selling, will be able to handle these things as it grows without having to, have too much of investments from the customer side. And in terms of both the number of people required to manage and run these installations, and in terms of complexities as well. So innovation and cost savings is the core anchor of this AI product that we are selling. And of course, whatever you said is absolutely true. When the customers try to build something on their own, there it's going to be a challenge in terms of understanding the AI framework, because a lot of stuff which works, it works for a specific set of use cases, might test it, but then empirically, have you exhausted everything? Is it going to give, is it going to hallucinate and do something? Like, for example, just last week there was a judgment pronounced in one of the courts, right? And that judgment had referred to cases that were delivered or decided in Supreme Court. But unfortunately, the person who delivered the judgment had probably used ChatGPT, right? And it had actually hallucinated and put in Supreme Court orders which never existed. Right. So this obviously they have tried something. This person must have tried something which worked, but then he didn't know that these things didn't exist. Right. So if I have to take that as an example, that is definitely going to be the guardrail that you need to look at, seeing how do you make sure. So which is why we don't go into exhaustive public LLMs and try to build products based on that. These are curated, relevant language models which are specifically dimensioned for solving a specific problem of cybersecurity.
Yes, and I think as enterprises will refine their cybersecurity strategies with evolving times, I think the integration of AI is not just an advantage, but it's more like a necessity. And like you said that implementing AI isn't just simple as flipping a switch. It requires a very well thought out approach that balances innovation, considers risk management, and ensures that all the AI models are ensuring security, compliance, and even ethical integrity. And of course, when you look at the future of cybersecurity, I think we will be seeing more innovations, like quantum AI or more advanced language models that hold the potential to enhance threat detection and response capabilities further. So, having said that, what's your vision for the future of cybersecurities, or how will AI shape that future, or what are certain trends that you think that might shape the future of tech and cybersecurity?
So the cybersecurity is typically seen as a domain where things from outside come and exploit, things inside. Whereas a lot of cybersecurity issues are also happening within inside. I mean, I'm not saying uh, this is not some byte streams which are coming from the outside world, but it could also emanate from inside. So it is going to be imperative as things move forward that this domain, which is currently looking at very specific pieces of information to figure out if something is normal or abnormal, will also have to take into account various kinds of applications that are being hosted in various domains, whether it's internal or in the cloud. Understand how these applications normally work, and then if there's any abnormality, catch it. So it's going to become a larger integration in terms of, like, for example, today people are able to trace, like, the way that, let's say, normally I log into my net mobile banking and do a transaction. So they see the way my hand, my finger moves touching buttons or whatever. So that's a biometric based check they do, right? This is also cybersecurity, because the phone could have been, taken by somebody else and who's trying to do something. If it senses that the movement of my fingers is not similar to what I've been, doing in the past, it can actually pop up and ask another question, which is a secret, which I know the answer, and the other person who's taken advantage of my, phone being there with the person, right? It can catch that and pop a question. So these are very intrusive ways. Right now, it's actually becoming very sensitive. So this is how I feel it's going to be a mix of both, network related things and application specific things. Like, for example, look at a branch of a bank, and normally there's a teller who does maybe about 300 transactions in a day, the working hours. But on a day that this teller is doing, let's say, 3,000 transactions. Now, this velocity of the specific transaction, there's something which I can say that, okay, this is humanly not possible. Now, there should be some malware sitting and doing some fund transfers, let's say, right? Maybe hacked into the keyboard logger or whatever, and it's doing some replays. So this is something which can be caught very easily, not just with the edge device, but in the server side as well. So it is going to be a blend of network applications use, the way that people interact with systems. A whole lot of things will be looked at for in the next generation of cybersecurity products. That's why I was talking about having built a framework where we can keep including multiple aspects and dimensions as they come in.
Right, and I think this the global security, cybersecurity talent shortage is a concerning challenge which threatens the sustainability of our digital ecosystems. But when you're considering the future of AI in cybersecurity, I think it's very important that they have a very strategic approach towards cybersecurity, and they're focusing on data integrity, human AI collaborations, and it's about leveraging AI not just as a tool but as an integral part of a resilient and a forward-thinking cybersecurity posture. So I think when we are talking about AI and automation or even the modern education techniques, I think we'll be successful at strengthening our cyber talent as well as augmenting our existing workforce to enable organizations to scale the security efforts more efficiently. Well, thank you so much, Paddy. It was a pleasure having you with us on a podcast today, and it was great chatting with you. And thank you for helping us understand that while AI will take on the routine tasks, I think human resources will always be needed to provide context and strategic thinking. And together, I think this will bridge the talent shortage gap that we are currently facing in the cybersecurity landscape.
Absolutely. I think, see, like I mentioned overall, one, AI can deliver an autonomous defense system, right? It can do certain things to put out fire before it becomes a serious escalation. The second is the whole thing becomes predictive and it's preempting things so that you can catch it before it damages something. The other part was we were talking about the AI augmented security expertise, right? So people who have certain talent and then it can increase their capabilities because it's going to augment what is happening. Like for example, a CISO, he needs to know, right? Today, how will he know? Like for example, are we exposed to this particular, let's say, malware, or I saw this threat outside? Are we, exposed to it? Are we using these versions? It's not an easy answer that he can get today. Whereas with this system, he can simply chat up and say, just ask the same question. Are we exposed to this? It can get a coherent, data-driven answer instantaneously. So this kind of support will supercharge their human decision making and actually lower the knowledge barrier in cybersecurity. So smaller organizations with limited staff will get much better world class guidance through this, and larger companies will be able to accelerate their deployments and manage their workflows in a much more efficient and cost effective manner.
Right, I completely agree with you. Thank you for that insightful information that you have shared on the podcast today. And I'm sure that our listeners would love listening to this podcast and would gain some important takeaways if they're planning to implement cybersecurity strategies at their respective organizations. Thank you so much for your insights, Paddy. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
Great. So, this is for our listeners. Stay tuned for our upcoming podcast, and you can view all our previous podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.